I am now going to give a Dvar Torah into a phone. I spoke with my grandmother on the phone earlier this week. I said to her, "In all my life I've never encountered a moment quite like this." She laughed. "In all your life, I'm 96 with a little more life lived than you, and I've never seen anything like it." I held that perspective as I did quite a bit of listening of my own this week. I listened with the sense that no one has really experienced this moment before. What did I hear? Here are a few tidbits. It is hard to leave without knowing when I'm going to come back. The uncertainty feels so hard to manage. My biggest challenge is dealing with such an enormous question mark. I am a person who likes to have a plan. Not knowing makes having a plan feel impossible. There is a common thread. A lack of knowledge can feel very destabilizing. Uncertainty is not a comfortable place to reside. One of the joys of being a people rooted in text is that each time we cycle through the parshiot of the Torah, there are different stories that will call out to us. Amidst the stories this week of golden calves, of tablets whole and broken, of Moshe's selfless leadership and the Holy One's forgiveness, what stood out to me in reading Tisa this year was the notion that there is a fear born out of waiting. At the beginning of the 32nd chapter of the book of Shemot, the people look around and realize, hey, that Moses guy, he hasn't come down from the mountain. 40 days and 40 nights is a long time to wait without word, and the people sense that something has to give. They need something that they can place their eyes upon, something to point to and say, Ele Elohecha Yisrael, Asher ha'elucha me'eretz Mitzrayim. There, that's what led me out of bondage. Now Rashi does his best to defend the people, explaining that Moshe had miscalculated the days, that he hadn't counted the day of his ascent up the mountain, but whether he was late or not, the people let their fear overtake them. The waiting became unbearable. They acted recklessly. Twice in the chapter, the phrase is repeated, Lo yadanu mehayalo. Lo yadanu. They didn't know. The waiting is a lot. The not knowing can feel almost unbearable. We're in a moment of not knowing. Trying to get a firm hold on what's going on, we read articles in the newspaper, listen to NPR, check the CDC, scour social media, and at the end of the day we must sit with the same sense of not knowing. It's the worst. Will this be a couple of weeks, a couple months, longer? It's anxiety-provoking and isolating. It robs us of a feeling of control and leaves us feeling raw and vulnerable. It's bad enough that we might imagine taking all of our jewelry and values and tossing them in the pan and saying, do something, do anything to make this period of uncertainty end. Yet the Parsha arrives and calls to us, wait, have a little patience, cultivate some savlanut, take a breath. We can empathize with the actions of a people desperate for leadership when there's none in sight. We are meant to recognize that there's some actions that are short-sighted, that sometimes a willingness to wait out the discomfort is the clearest path to understanding. I speak about patience not as an expert, but as a person who wants to be better. I invite all of us to share the Torah of our experience, the hard-earned wisdom, the best practices for cultivating a greater sense of patience in a topsy-turvy world. Now I offer up not my own wisdom, but an excerpt from a poem by the former poet laureate Kay Ryan. She writes, "Who would have guessed it possible that waiting is sustainable, a place with its own harvests, or that in time's fullness, the diamonds of patience couldn't be distinguished from the genuine in brilliance or hardness. None of us have experienced this moment before. My hope is that in the coming weeks we can experience a waiting that is sustainable, that we will know harvests amidst our patience. May we be blessed to discover the places where brilliance and hardness overlap. May we deal with our not knowing better than our forebearers, building not idols, but a sense of patience and a belief that together, with resilience and love, we will overcome times of uncertainty. Shabbat Shalom.